Hello and welcome to i-nastava. This is an English lesson for the first grade of high school. The topic of our lesson today is a story with a given ending. My name is Livija Pribanić and I will be your teacher in this lesson. At the end of our lesson today, you will be asked to write a story. And now it's time to get ready. Please prepare a notebook and writing utensils. Also, don't forget, you can pause the video at any point. Let's start our lesson with a simple question. What makes a story a story? Think about it. There are some essentials to be met in every story, right? First, there is a character or characters. They can be good or bad, depending on the genre. Then there is the setting, which defines the details in the story. The plot is considered to be the most important element of a story. We can define it as a sequence of events within a story. Another important element is setting the time. It is the author's imagination that defines whether the plot will be set in present, future, in the past, or whether it will be a mixture of all. In our stories today, in this lesson, we will go back to the past. So the plot and the characters in all of our stories today will go back to the past. It's time for our first story today, the story of a drop. This is a very short story. The text will appear on the screen very soon. Please read the text and decide who is the main character of the story, where does the story take place, and what is the time setting. Here is the text. Now please pause the video lesson and read the story. Are you ready? So the main character is Little Drop. The story takes place in the gigantic gray cloud. And finally, the time setting is the past. You are ready now for your next task. Please write down all the verbs from the story into your notebook. Pause the video lesson and copy the verbs in your notebook. The verbs are marked red here, and the verbs are was, rained, made, were jumping, wasn't, was, had created, and had been growing. Well done! The verbs that you have just written in your notebook are examples of narrative tenses. Narrative tenses are used to talk about past events, and they are used to tell stories. There are 4 narrative tenses in English. Can you name them? Take your time, think about it. Look at the verbs written in your notebook. Which tenses are those? Past simple tense, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. And now it's time for your next task. Please assign each of the verbs to its tense. Go back to your notebooks, take a look at the verbs, and decide which verb is in which tense. You can draw a table in your notebook if that will be easier for you, or you can just simply write down the tense next to the verb. Pause the video lesson now and do this task. And here is the table to check together. The examples of past simple tense are was and weren't, rained, and made. Past continuous tense, there is only one example, were jumping. Past perfect tense, had created, and past perfect continuous tense, had been growing. Great, well done. To practice the form of each of these tenses a bit more, please add several more examples to each column for each tense of your own choice. Pause the video now and add your own examples. We have just revised the form of each of the narrative tense. Let's discuss its usage. Compare these sentences. Jane walked in and greeted everyone. There are two verbs in this sentence, walked and greeted. Both are in past simple tense, so these past actions happened simultaneously. If we take a look at the second sentence, when Jack walked in, they were all reading the report. Now, the time setting is a bit different. Both actions happened in the past. However, a past simple action interrupted a longer past action expressed by past continuous. When Jack walked in, this is a short past action expressed by past simple tense. Were reading is a longer past action that happened before Jack walked in and probably continued after Jack walked in. So that is the difference between past simple tense and past continuous. Here are some more examples. When Jane arrived, the meeting started. These are again two past actions expressed by past simple tense. Both actions took place around at the same time. When Jane arrived, the meeting started. In the second sentence, however, when Jane arrived, the meeting had already started. There are two narrative tenses. Arrived, which is past simple tense, and had started, which is past perfect tense. We use past perfect tense to express an action in the past that happened before another past action. So first the meeting started and then Jane arrived. Or, as it is shown here, the bus had left and Theo arrived at the station. Two past actions. Theo arrived at the station was the second activity. The bus had left is the first action that happened prior to the one expressed by past simple tense. We all know that practice makes perfect. So here is an exercise for you. Please copy this bit.ly link into your browser. It will take you to an exercise. There are 23 verbs in a short story that need to be put into the correct tense. Please use narrative tenses only. Pause the video now and do the activity. Good luck! And now it's time for your own story, Once Upon a Time. This story, however, will be a bit different because you will not start from the beginning, you will start from the end. Here are 3 endings to your story. And at that very moment, they knew things would change the future. Or, but how? What did we do wrong? Or, finally, it all stopped. All of it. Now it's time for you to choose one of the endings. Pause the video now, read the endings again, and choose the one you like the best. A bit more choices for you. These 3 photos are the setting for your story. Photo 1, landscape, somewhere on planet Earth. Photo 2, distant future, near future maybe. Or photo 3, robots and labs, science fiction setting. You choose. Here are some more guidelines for your story. Even though you will start writing your story from the end, your title needs to be catchy. There need to be at least 2 characters in your story. The topic of your story must be related to science and technology, innovations, discoveries, laboratories, experiments, whatever you feel like choosing. You need to use narrative tenses in your story, the 4 ones we discussed in this lesson. And finally, before you send your story to your teacher, don't forget to check your spelling. Once your story is written, you can refer to this checklist and make sure you have covered all the parts of your assignment. Good luck with this one. Thank you for being with us today, and until the next time, bye everybody.